What are the keys to you as an entrepreneur living a more grateful life? I'm going to tell you now on this episode of the Unlock Success Podcast.
This is the Unlock Success Podcast. We're helping entrepreneurs around the world dive deep into the keys you need to shatter excuses, believe in yourself, and help you achieve your highest goals. Here's your host, 8-figure entrepreneur and the living legend of internet marketing, Anthony Morrison.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Anthony Morrison here, and welcome to another episode of the Unlock Success Podcast, where we're bringing you, just some of the best tips, strategies, and techniques to really kind of retrain your brain, think like an entrepreneur so that you can move like an entrepreneur. I think that's, probably one of the most important things that most people fail to see when they're online, they're on the internet. I've got a YouTube channel that, talks about affiliate marketing and digital marketing and webinars and all of these things that, quite honestly, look, they're important in business, right? But they're like the X's and the O's is what I say. It's like in the trenches for how to build the business and what to click and where to click it and how to make money, instead of kind of this macro level thought process of how do we have to be, who do we have to be, how do we have to think in order to be a successful entrepreneur. And so here on Unlock Success Podcast, what I really do is try to dig into that, right? And share some of that with you. And today on the episode, I want to talk to you about how to live a grateful life, right? How to be grateful for what we have and not envy what others have. I think one of the fastest and easiest ways to live a grateful life is to separate social media from real life, right? Because God, how many times do we get on social media and we see that person that's got that car, or we see that person that just, bought this new thing or that new watch, or they just made this $7 million deal or something, and we're filled with this envy, right? We wish, we hope, we want, we yearn to have what they have, be who they are, do what they do, go where they go, drive what they drive. And that makes it virtually impossible to be grateful for the life that you're living, right? I think perspective is everything, right? When put into perspective, your life, I'm sure, just as sure as you're listening to this, there are things in your life that you should appreciate, that you should be grateful for. There might be challenges in your life, right? You may have gone through some really rough things, but you got to find gratitude in those challenges. You've got to see how those challenges have given you strength and will continue to give you strength in the future. I always say that I'm super grateful for the life that I live. And you might look at me and say, well, how in the world could you not be, right? You've done all these things, made all this money, blah, blah, blah. But let me tell you something. With money comes responsibility. With massive success comes a target. And there have been plenty of challenges in my life. And I have to look at each one of those and find a way to be thankful for that challenge, thankful for that lesson, thankful for the ability to learn from it, grow from it, be stronger from it, and because of it, and let it help me to define not who I am today, but who I will be in the future, right? It's all about, having awareness, being aware of what's going on in your life and the challenges that you're facing, and how getting through that moment can truly help you succeed at a higher level in the future. And I think also, giving back, right? Like giving back to maybe, we always say something larger than yourself, but whether it's your time or your money, any resource that you're able to give, find out how you can share that with those who don't have what you have and who don't do what you do. You know what I mean? Because when you give back, it gives you an opportunity to see what other people are going through. It gives you an opportunity to see, and it really helps you to put things in perspective. I'll never forget, I was probably in my early 20s, and my parents took me to, it was like the fire department was putting on this big event, and it was for kids who had been burned. Big house fires, like grease fires and things like that, it was for the burn center. And I used to always, especially as a younger kid, I used to always be, I would say, maybe hard on how I look. I wasn't the biggest guy. I didn't have the most muscles. I've always had, I won't say that I'm like super insecure, but I mean, when I was younger, I certainly could find things wrong with my appearance, right? There's no doubt about that. And when I went in the very first time and saw these burn victims and these kids, and I saw these, like, 6-year-old, 7-year-old kids that were burned, just their whole face just burned. You know, I got to be honest with you. I was filled with a lot of gratitude in knowing that I haven't experienced that. I haven't gone through that. I don't have that issue, and it made me grateful, right? Like, grateful for what I do have, grateful for where I am, grateful for how I do look, even the things that might be wrong with me. I'm far, I'm so happy that I'm not burned from one side of my face to the other. So giving back to something bigger than yourself, giving your time, right, to people, which is something that, that I did. I took those kids shopping, and was able to, buy them Christmas gifts and stuff like that. And, you know, that made me feel good. And it made me feel grateful for the life that I live. Another thing is that, I started this Christmas for Kids thing when I was probably like 18. I don't know. Maybe it's a little older, probably about 20 years old, where we go shop for kids for Christmas, And I tell you what, it's one of the most humbling things, because I'd be sitting there, at the time I was, dating, right? And I'd be thinking about what I'm gonna buy my girlfriend, right? And I don't know, sometimes it just shocked me, because when you when you're not present in, I think, another person's shoes, it's easy to always feel like the ones you're in aren't good enough, right? Um, I remember reading the Christmas lists that these little kids wanted, and it was like socks, you know, a coat, things like that. And they were writing this on their own list. One of them I'll never forget as long as I live. This little girl, she was probably 6 years old. She wanted food. She said she wanted food. Literally on her Christmas list, she wanted food. And I'm telling you, like, when you're shopping for a child, it's another human, right? That is, 6 years old, doesn't have any control whatsoever over their, what they were born into, right? No choice that they made to be poor, or to be in that situation, and they just want food. And you stop and you think about how you're angry because you didn't get one of the PlayStation 2s when they were released, you know? And I tell you what, it can make you feel really grateful for the things that you do have, for the problems that you do have, you know what I mean? And for the life that you have lived. And so I think when we give back to something bigger than we are, and give back to people who are less fortunate, it brings us an acute sense of awareness, right? And perspective. And I think when you have awareness and perspective, you're grateful. You're grateful for the things that you have in life. And another thing is to focus on your relationships, One of the most rewarding parts of life is being able to meet your significant other, somebody that you're going to, live life with, you're going to do this thing with, which, gosh, what a crazy thing it is to ride through life together with somebody, right? And I think when you focus a little bit more on your relationship, you're focusing on the person that loves you most, that's going to support you most, that's going to tell you the greatest things about you and all of these things, right? It can't help but make you feel grateful for your life, grateful for where you're at. So instead of focusing 100% of your time in places where people just need something from you, want something from you, or gain something by being near you, focus some time on your relationships with the people, and certainly with your spouse, with the person that is going to always be there to support you and lift you up, because it's going to make you feel grateful that you found your person, grateful that you've got the things that you have, and grateful that you're on the path that you're on, right? So I think that these are all great tips on, how to live a grateful life. I think it's important to put those things in perspective, and also to put that at the forefront of our minds, because if we live an empty life and we're not grateful for the things that we have, then we're not appreciative of anything that we accomplish, right? And even the small accomplishments in life we should appreciate. You only live once, right? So it's important to appreciate each and every moment. And you can't do that without gratefulness. So hopefully this has given you some tips, some thoughts, maybe just spark some interest in thinking a little bit differently, or thinking about things maybe you've never thought about before. And I guarantee you it's going to help you live a more grateful life and ultimately a more successful one. So hopefully this has helped you, and I look forward to having you join me again next week with another message from our Unlock Success podcast.